Using masking tape on a watercolor painting is a tedious process, but well worth the reward. So let's find out what it looks like. In part 2, I painted the white-tailed deer that were placed in this painting. This week, I'm showing you the method using masking tape. This is a method that people like to use when they want a lighter color object in the foreground when painting in watercolor. That's because with watercolor, once you have a darker paint put down, you can't really take it back or make it lighter unless you were to scrape off the top layer of the paper. And that would be near impossible to scrape off that much paper on a painting like this. So that's why I'm cutting up all these individual pieces using the masking tape. I have to cut out every individual blade of grass, every leaf, every single small object that I want to paint with a lighter color once this process is done. So I've spent over 60 hours so far on this painting. That's why I'm a little bit behind on my weekly YouTube upload, because getting a video out once a week is a little bit difficult, and like I said in my last video, I don't want to rush the process too much because I don't want the quality to decrease. However, I don't want to spend all year working on this painting. I started by painting the sky. To do this, I mixed up a little bit of violet, blue, and gray colors because I wanted to give it a natural tint. This is a scene that would be taking place in the early morning, so there might be a little bit of mist there on a slightly cloudy day. I put a very heavy wash on here, so the paper got pretty wet and the board actually started to warp. This is a paper board, by the way. And to my surprise, the masking tape actually worked very well. None of the colors seemed to seep in around the sides at all. It held the shape of the object just perfectly. And then all the detail was there. You'll see how it performed here in a second. The main thing that the masking tape accomplishes is that it retains the same pattern in the background. So when you have a sky, you want that cloud or the birds or whatever is behind an object to hold the same pattern so it's very fluent. You don't want to have one side darker than the other. You can see how distinct the white is from the gray in the background. It's hard to notice while the tape's down, but once you peel it up, you can really see the detail. And we have perfect white paper underneath that tape. There's a few spots where the tape might have gotten wet and came up a little bit before I was ready to peel it off, but for the most part, it kept almost all of the detail. I've actually never tried this masking tape method when painting in watercolor. I just kind of thought of the idea and then tried it out, and as I was working on this project, I did go on the internet and search for it and found out that other people have done it. So this is all new to me. This is not really something I'm used to doing. However, it seems to be working out very nicely. Once I had the desired amount of leaves cut out and placed down on the paper, I started to layer my colors for the road. I had to be really careful here though, because this is where all the light is coming down through the trees. So I didn't want to go too dark. You can always go darker, but you can't go lighter once the paint is down on the paper. Here you can see that I'm painting individual blades of grass. At this point, it's pretty obvious that I put down quite a bit of the masking tape, so I'm ready to really get in there and start painting. When cutting out all these pieces, the smaller they were, the more difficult they had been. In particular, the grass blades were very difficult because they were so thin. You can go quicker and just cut out squares or use the knife like you saw me do earlier, but the more detailed, the more precise you are, the better it's going to look, because once that white spot is left in there, it's going to be very hard to get rid of it once you've already put down the background colors. The road comes to life too. And these leaves are going to really pop because I'm going to peel off that tape, leaving white space, and then when I go back in with yellow and orange, which is the color of the leaves, they're going to have an extra pop to them. They're not going to have any background colors that will make them dull. At this point, everything's looking very nicely and it's time to really get in there with the paint. Painting the shadows was a special challenge because there's not direct light coming down through the trees here, yet it is a little bit brighter than it would be on a normal cloudy day. It's kind of like that lighting that you see really early in the morning when the sun is just starting to come out. I turned on the camera light here so you could see exactly what it looks like when I peel up that masking tape. You can see how white it is beneath, none of the colors seep through. This is going to look really good once I peel up those leaves because all those leaves are going to be yellow and orange, and those brighter colors are really going to pop behind this background. One thing that was difficult though was that the masking tape was like this artificial green color, so that kind of threw me off when I tried to stand back and look at the painting. Once I peeled up the tape though, The colors really seemed to blend well and there wasn't really a problem. So if you're going to try this on your own, I would recommend getting a color masking tape that's either gray or a more neutral color. That way it doesn't throw you off while you're painting. Once I peeled off all those tiny details, I went back in and gave them a little bit of a color. I'll have to do this with the whole painting, and I won't be able to get to all of that for this video today, but you'll get to see what it looks like once we peel up all that tape. I went ahead and removed the blades of grass from beneath the deer. Now this looked really good once I got it completed. Then I'll just go back in and kind of blend those lighter colors, and you won't even notice that there is masking tape used in the first place. So at this point it's time to really get in there and start peeling up all that tape, and it was quite a tedious process, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit for you. I will also say that I had to be really careful to not rip the paper. You can see in some places I ripped the paper a little bit, so I had to be really careful not to do that because that could really throw off the whole effect if I caused too much damage. Those minor imperfections can be easily repaired though. Cutting out every individual object was a very tedious process and it took a long time, and now we're just tearing up all of that and throwing it away. But you can see here what we're left with is something pretty amazing. So once I have all that tape peeled up, I'll have to go back in and paint all of that white space, but it will be worth it in the end, I assure you that. Thanks again for watching today, and please subscribe to Fritz Hoppe on YouTube. It may take a few weeks to get out the next part for this series, but I'll have my weekly upload ready. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next time.